Hello. Welcome to Content Editor online training for the College of Arts and Sciences standard sites. In this video, you will learn about alternative text or alt text, what it is and its importance for accessibility and how it is applied to images and links. Here is a short video to illustrate the importance of alternative text to get us started.
Let's use Internet Explorer to open an example page we created for a fictional company called Exclamation Software. We didn't want to pick on specific companies with problem websites, so we created pages for this video that illustrate some of the problems and solutions we have found on the web. If you were sitting here beside me, you would be able to describe what you see on the screen. But listen to what the screen reader says when I try to read the information.
Page has 3 links.
Well, that's not very helpful, but I can do 2 quick things to see if there's information on the page. First, let me arrow down and read any information that might be there.
Blank, blank, blank.
Well, that certainly sounds like a page with no information to me. The second thing I can do is to tab to links. My screen reader told me that there were 3 links on the page. So let's see if I can tab to those links.
Tab, tab, tab.
If there are links here, that must certainly mean that there is information on the page, but I sure can't read it. Without any information, I can't even be sure I'm on the right page. While seemingly blank pages like this can be frustrating for screen reader users, perhaps more frustrating are pages that make little or no sense at all. Let's try opening another page.
Page has 3 links. Graphic spacer, graphic spacer, graphic 1,234,393.gif.
Well, there's definitely information here, but my screen reader is reading gibberish. When I find pages like this, I have to give up. The information just doesn't make any sense. Fortunately, it doesn't take much work to make this site completely accessible. In fact, it's quite easy to do. You just have to add alt text. Short for alternative text, alt text is simply a way to provide text equivalents to non-text elements on a page. This includes images, graphical representations of text, including symbols, image map regions, animations, scripts, and images used as list bullets, spacers, graphical buttons, etc. Let's discover how easy it is to add alt text. A good way for page authors to evaluate the alt text that has been added is to turn images off. As you can see, when you turn images back on, the addition of the alt text has no effect on the final appearance of the page. Now that we've added alt text, let's read this page again.
Page has 3 links. Graphic exclamation software logo. Link English. Link Spanish. Link German.
Now that's much better. This page obviously uses alt text. Without it, I might as well have been reading in Spanish or German. Although including alt text is an essential part of building accessible sites, what that alt text says is equally important. As we heard earlier, what screen readers find on the page can sometimes make very little sense. Let me load a new page and I'll show you what I mean.
Loading page. Load done. Link question mark inside blue box link icon with 4 numbers and 4 lines link stylized right arrow screen readers and the web flexible content for an increasingly diverse audience. Once again, this information is not very helpful. The icons provide sighted users with some clues about the function of the buttons, but what would you guess these buttons would do if you were blind and heard them announced by the screen reader? Link question mark inside blue box link icon.
There are some important things to remember when you're applying alt text in this kind of example. The function of a button is more important than what it looks like. So, in this example, the alt text should not say stylized right arrow. When we have the screen reader read the corrected page, it says,
Link help. Link table of contents. Visited link next slide.
Now these buttons give me the information I need. Another thing to consider is the clarity and length of the alt text. It's most helpful when what's being described is stated as clearly and concisely as possible. As alt text gets longer, it could actually become more confusing or take more time than it is helpful. One solution in these cases is the use of D-links for longer descriptions when they're needed. A D-link is used to provide an in-depth description of something the author of the page wants to include more details about. So the alt text gives you a quick description of the image's function. The D-link gives you a longer description if you need it. Let me load a page and show you what I mean by a D-link.
Loading page. Load done. Sales exclamation software. Sales by category. Link D.
As I read this page, you heard my screen reader say D-link. When I hear that, I know that there's a longer description of this image I can read. Let's see what's in this particular D-link description.
Link D. Enter. H has one heading and one link. Sales chart descriptive text version. The pie chart illustrates a categorical breakdown of the software sold by exclamation in 2001. Total sales reached $1.2 million in the following categories: 36% communications, 25% productivity, 24% entertainment, 13% multimedia. Link return to sales page.
Now this is nice information to have. And because it was done as a D-link and not as alt text, I can choose to read it or ignore it. One other important thing to remember about making web pages accessible is that in most instances, accessibility enhancements don't change the appearance of the page. The alt text that we've added can only be seen when you turn off images in the browser. And with the D-link, there is only a small, very unobtrusive D on the graphical page. But this is the only instance where the graphical version of the page will be altered. Older screen readers and some other devices only render the alt text when images are not loaded. So, the best way to know how effective your alt text really is to turn off images in the browser, or view your pages with a text-only browser such as links, and see if you get all the information you want people to know about when they visit your site. In short, if you use alt text, everybody wins.
As shown in the video segment, alternative text sometimes makes more sense when it specifies a function if the image is used as a link. The purpose of the image is more important than the image description. For example, alternative text for a help button that displays a question mark should be help, not question mark. Note that for links, alt text becomes the screen tooltip. However, for images, the screen tooltip is taken from title text. Although only alternative text is required to make our websites accessible, we have trained web readers over the last 20 years to mouse over images and buttons for more information. So to make your site more usable, title text becomes almost as important as alternative text, and both are required for images in our standard sites. Let's start with images. For images, think of alternative text as replacement text. If you cannot see the image, the text is a replacement that describes the content of the image and what is happening. The alt text needs to be succinct. It should be less than 100 characters and between 3 to 12 words long. Alternative text must also be unique within the first 3 words between images. For example, the alternative text for 2 different images of different flowers should not both be flowers. To make the text unique, either name the flowers, in this case daffodils or lilacs, or begin the text in a unique way by describing them as shown. Finally, since the screen reader denotes the image with the expression image of, do not begin the alt text with the words image of, photo of, picture of, etc. Now on to links. For links, the alternative text explains where the link will take them. So when entering alternative text for a link, type in the link destination as exactly as possible. Alternative text, though, should give additional context for the link. Respect the sophistication of our readers and do not repeat the link text nor the web address. Instead, help them to know that this is indeed the link they need. Again, do not use phrases like link to, click here, and read more. The screen reader already lets the reader know that there is a link present. Keep alternative text for links to less than 100 characters and between 3 to 12 words long. When creating links to go to another website, use the word website in the alternative text to inform your readers that they are leaving your website. If you have multiple links on the same page going to the same location, it is recommended to use the same alternative text for each of the links. But when going to different locations, make sure the alternative text is unique within the first 3 words. So as a rule of thumb for alternative text for both images and links, be accurate, be succinct, do not use redundant phrases such as link to, click here, and image of on the page or in alt text. Please continue with the next video to learn how to prepare images to use on your website.